Hello there, my fellow learners. So we are now here in the Let Us Assess. This is the part wherein we're going to answer the respective question in a multiple choice type of test. So here it goes with the different problems. In the first problem that we have, it is a polynomial equation of degree 2 that can be written in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a, b, and c are real numbers and a is not the same with 0. So as you can see, as the explanation goes with this kind of problem, so ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. This is now what we call the standard form of the quadratic equation. So the answer for number 1 is letter A. Okay, for number 2, which of the following quadratic equation? A, 7y plus 13 equals 21. B, 6x squared plus 10x minus 4 equals 4x squared. C, we have 4w plus 8w plus 18. Then D is 2y squared minus 9y is less than or equal to 1. In letter A, this one is in the form of linear because the degree of the variable, the highest degree is of this one here is 1. Whereas here in letter B, since we have here 6x squared, which is not the same with here, and this is followed by the equal sign, so this is now equivalent. The 6x squared and the 4x squared is in the degree of 2. Then this one is what we call a quadratic equation. Whereas letter C is not, this is a quadratic because the degree is in the degree here is 2, but this is not, we cannot see here the equal sign, so therefore this is just a quadratic expression. This is not a quadratic equation. This one is a quadratic expression. For letter D, is we have here degree, still the same thing we have, since it is just in the degree 2, but then we have the inequality symbol here, so this is not a quadratic equation. This is not also a quadratic expression, but this one is a quadratic inequality. But then based from the question, what we asked here is we're looking for the quadratic equation. So among the 4 choices, our answer here is B. Okay, number 3 is in the quadratic equation 4m squared minus 12m plus 11 equals 0. What is the quadratic term? So looking back to this kind of problem, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So ax squared is what we call it quadratic term. This bx here stands for our linear term, while the c here is the constant term. So let us recap everything here so that you must be knowledgeable enough for your summary of all the discussion that I have shared with you previously. What is asked here is quadratic term, having a degree 2 of the variable. The having of the degree of the variable is we have 4m squared. So therefore, among the choices we have here, letter D as the answer. Okay, what is the standard form of the equation 2x times the quantity x minus 1 equals negative 2x minus 8? So from here, we're going to solve using the distributive property first. We have 2x times x, and that is 2x squared. 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x. Then copy the right side of the equation, which is negative 2x minus 8. And so, since our task here is we are going to make it this portion here to be a quadratic standard form with a quadratic equation. So all the terms from that we see here in the right side of the equation must be transposed in the left side. So we have here 2x squared now minus 2x. I just copy the left side of the equation. Then this negative 2x became 2x, positive 2x. This negative 8 became positive 8, which is the same as 0 now. So since negative 2x and 2x are the same, so we could combine like term but in different signs. So this is now 0 as the result. So copy the 2x squared plus 8 equals 0. So the answer now for number 4 is B. Okay, so let's proceed for number 5. Which of the following equations can be solved easily by extracting square roots? So in extracting square roots, the only thing that we are going to do here, the easy way for us to work on it, is that having a degree is in the term ax squared plus c equals 0 for us to be able to work it out easily. So among these questions, letter A, B, C, and D, this one having a linear term, same as here, linear term, whereas here letter B, we don't have a linear term because the only thing that we are going to work with the extracting square root, the easy way around, is what we required here is that the quadratic term and the constant term. So among the choices here, B here is suited to the question being asked. So the answer now is letter B. Next, what number must be added to both sides of the equation 2x squared plus 16x equals 20 so that the method of completing the square can be solved the roots? Okay, since the given here is 2x squared plus 16x equals 20, so the first requirement that we have, if it is greater than 1, then the numerical coefficient of the quadratic term, so we're going to divide it both sides of the equation by the numerical coefficient of the quadratic term, which is 2. So 2 now here, so this one became 2 divided by 2, and that is x squared. 16 divided by 2, and that is 8x. Then this is just the same with 10. 20 divided by 2, and that is 10. Next thing that we should do here is for the linear term that we have must be divided to 2. So the numerical of the linear term, so we have here 8 divided by 2, and that is 4. Then after that is square root of 4, which is 16. So we can now add both sides of the quadratic equation by 16. So let us, going back, what is asked there is what number must be added to both sides of the equation so that it became completing the square. So the both sides of the equation must be added by 16. So this must be letter B. So let's proceed now for number 7. The given problem for number 7 is what are the roots of the equation x squared plus 2x minus 80 equals 0. So in this case, for us to be able to get this problem here, since the given what is asked there in the given is we're looking for the roots of the equation. So we have here x squared plus 2x minus 80 equals 0. So there are so many ways for us to work it out. The first thing is the extracting square root. Since if we don't have a linear term, since we have here a linear term of the quadratic, so we could not make use of the extracting square root. B is for the fact. Next one is solving equation using the factoring. If the certain equation given can be factored, then we can use the factoring. Then using the completing the square and then the quadratic formula. Let us try if the given is factorable. So we're looking for using this one. So x here for a, this must, because using the diamond method, it should be in the diamond method is ax here, then A times C, then B. So in this case, our A here is 1, so 1x, 1x. Our B is 2, so 2. Then here is A times C, so 1 A times C is 1 times negative 80, and that is negative 80. Negative 80 here, and then copy the 2. So we're looking for the factors of 80 wherein the sum must be 2. Factors of 80, so we have here 10 and negative 8. So the factors is 10 and negative 8. We have the sum 10 plus negative 8 is 2, so the sum now is 2. So therefore we now have here 10 and negative 8. So copy the 10 here over 10, then over negative 8. So we could not simplify this one since it is simplified already. So we now have the factor x plus 10, x minus 8 equals 0. And take note, every factors will be equated to 0. So x plus 10 equals 0, then x minus 8 is equal to 0. So x now is equal to 0. Transpose the past 10 the other side of the equation, the left side. So this must be negative 10. And here we have transpose the negative 8, so it became positive 8. So therefore now the value of x that we have is negative 10 and 8. So among the choices here, we now have C as the answer. That's the explanation. What are the factors of 4x squared minus 32x equals 0? What are the factors? So the factors for this, since we have to make use of the common monomial factor first, because 4 and 32 is the same thing. Okay, it can be factored. So we now have 4 outside. Then we have here x squared, then x, so 4x. What is left here would be the remaining part here. So we have 4x squared divided by 4x. And we now have cancel, so we have here x. Then negative 32x divided by 4x. So cancel the x. Negative 32 divided by 4, and that is negative 8. So the answer now here is negative 8. So this must be minus 8. So the factor now of 4x squared minus 32x is 4x times x minus 8 equals 0. So among the choices here, letter D is fit from the given. So the answer now is letter D. What are the roots of the quadratic equation having x minus 9 times the quantity x minus 2 equals 0? So here we now have, since it is now in a factored form, then it is equivalent to 0 already. Factored form, so multiplier is x minus 9 and the x minus 2. So two factors that we have. So every factors will be equated to 0. So x minus 9 equals 0. Then as well as x minus 2 equals 0. So therefore x minus 9 equals 0. So x is 9 because negative 9 will be transposed on the other side of the equation. Then x minus 2 equals 0. So x is equal to 2. So it must be transposed there. So the answer now is 9 and x is 9 and x is 2. So among the choices, we have here letter A as the answer. Okay, solve 16v squared equals 25. 16v squared equals 25. Since the given is already the quadratic term and the constant term, so the easy way around for us to work it out is through the use of exacting square root. So the first thing that we should do is just to divide first both sides by 16. So we now have here v squared equals 25 over 16. Then to solve further, we have now extract both sides by square root. So we now have v now is equal to plus minus square root of 25 is 5, square root of 16 is 4. So among the choices, we now have here letter C as the result. 5 over 4 plus minus 5 over 4. For number 11 is which of the following is simplified form of 4x times the quantity x plus 3 equals negative 4. So here is, if we have to get this one as simplified form, what we have now is we must be able to make it one that to make it in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, which is equal to 0. In short, it must be formed in the standard form of the quadratic equation. Since the given is 4x times x plus 3 equals negative 4, what we will do first is just to distribute the 4x to the x. So we come up with here as 4x squared. Then 4x times 3, so we have now 12x. Then negative 4 copy. And after which, this is just divisible by 12. So we now have here transpose the negative 4 rather to the other side, so we have now 4x squared plus 12x plus 4 equals 0. So among the choices given, the nearest answer for this number 11 is letter D, which is 4x squared plus 12x plus 4. Okay. Next, for number 12 is we have how many real roots does the quadratic equation x squared minus 10x plus 20 equals 0 have? How many real roots? So for us to identify how many real roots be given here, so we have to make use of the discriminant method. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So our a here is 1, b is negative 10, c is 20. So now we have negative 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times 20. And so we have 100 minus 80, because negative 4 times 1 is negative 4 times 20 is negative 80. So we now have here 20. Since 20 is greater than 0, so if it is greater than 0, we can now claim that we have here 2 as the real roots. But if it is less than 0, the 20 is if the result, the discriminant, which is less than 0, so meaning to say, or a negative value, so meaning to say we could not get the real roots because it is imaginary. Then if we have to make use, if it is equal to 0, it is equivalent to 1. Again, if it is greater than 0, the result of the discriminant is greater than 0, then we have 2 real roots. If it is equal to 0, then we could get 1 value of real root. Then if it is less than to 0, the result of the discriminant is we could not get the real roots here because it is imaginary. So in this case, number 12 here is letter C. One of the roots x squared minus 2x minus 48 is equal to 0 is 8. What is the other root? The other root for this is, we have, since this is factorable, the factor of this is x plus 6 x minus 8 equals 0, because from here 8, this 1 times negative 48, and that is negative 48 x, then copy the negative 2. Then we are looking for the factors of negative 48, wherein the sum is negative 2, so let's say negative 8 and 6. So therefore x plus 6 and x minus 8 as the factor. So x minus 8 equals 0. So x is 8. So one of the roots that we have is 8. The other root that we have is x plus 6 equals 0. Then x is equal to negative 6. So the answer now is negative 6. Among the choices, the answer is letter A, because negative 6 is the result. Okay, I hope the given problem for number 14 must be readable here in your side. So we now have here, determine a number that must be added to make x squared plus 22x plus blank a perfect square trinomial. So what we now have here, as what I have said a while ago, we're focused on the linear term, the numerical of the linear term. So we have here 22. Then the 22 now must be divided always by 2. So whatever the numerical coefficient of the linear term must be divided to 2. So we now have 11. Then the quotient here is 11, so we are going to take the square of it. So we have here 121 as the result. So among the choices to make it perfect square trinomial, we now have to add to have the blank value there as 121. Okay, what is the resulting quadratic equation into a standard form if a equals 2, b equals negative 4, c equals negative 8? So standard form with the quadratic equation is again ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So then again we have now a is 2, so replace, so 2x squared. B is negative 4, so negative b, negative 4x. C is negative 8, so negative 8 equals 0. So among here, we now have A as the result. What the roots of a quadratic equation 12 and negative 5? Which of the following quadratic equation has these roots? So to know further about the quadratic term and the quadratic equation written in the standard form, so we now have made use of this formula: x squared minus the sum of the two roots multiplied to the term variable x plus the product of the two roots is equal to 0. First is we're looking for the sum. So 12 plus negative 5, the sum is 7. 12 times negative 5, product is 60. So since 7 is the sum, so from the given, so we now have here x squared minus 7x, because the sum is 7, plus the product, which is negative 60. So minus 60 equals 0. So we now have as the answer here letter B is the result. Okay, for number 17, we now have here the length of the rectangular table is 4. The length, so this is the length, is 4 more than. So this is x plus 4 more than the width. The area now is 60, so 60 square units. Find the dimension of the table. So take note that the area is length times width. Since the area is 60, so we now have here 60. Then x times x plus 4. Then after which we're going to distribute, so we have here 60. X times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. Then after which we now have here 0, x squared plus 4x minus 60. So through if it is factorable, so from the factored form Is it factorable? So the factor of this now is x plus 10 and x minus 6. So equate to 0, so x plus 10 equals 0, so x is negative 10. And the other one, x minus 6 equals 0, so x is 6. Take note that we could not be able to have a value of negative number for the measurement given. So what we have now is x to become 6. Rejected the negative 10. Okay. So now, in this given, we have x is equal to 6. X plus 4 is equal to 6 plus 4, and that is 10. So what is asked here is the dimension. The dimension now is 6 by 6 units by 10 units. 6 units by 10 units. 6 or 10 by 6. We now have letter B as a result. Which of the following quadratic equations has no real roots? So we don't have no real roots. So among this is we have here no real roots, because accordingly this negative 100, the constant term must be positive for us to make use of the exacting square root. So letter B. Or another way around to make use, as we identify it, we have to make use of the discriminant method, the b squared minus 4ac. Okay. Next is we have the length of a wall is 4 meter more than its width. If the area of the wall is 96 square meter, which of the following could be the width? So same thing what we have done previously. So this is x, then this is x plus 4, which is 96, then 96 is the square. So x times x plus 4 equals 96. So therefore x squared plus 4x distribute minus 96 equals 0. So we now have here as the factor x plus 12, then x minus 8 equals 0. So I already discussed previously that how we can do it. Okay, negative 12 as a result, then the other one, x minus 8 equals 0. X is 8. So since here we write it here clearly, since here we could make use of disregarded that we have the value of x, which is negative 12. So we now have here x to be 8. So which of the following could be its width? So the length is x is 8. The length, the width is x. The length is x plus 4. So width now is 8. So the answer now is B. This is the width, and the length is x plus 4, so which is 8 plus 4, which is 12. So careful in this problem number 19, because it is a tricky one. Next is the length of the garden is 5 meters longer than its width. The area is 84. How long is the garden? So same thing, is the length is x plus 5. So we have here 84 as a result. So x plus 5 equals 84. So we now have x squared plus 5x equals 84. So from here we have x squared plus 5x minus 84 equals 0. So we now have here as the result to be wait, this must be x plus 12 and x minus 7. So from there I will put it here because we don't have any space at all. So x is negative 12 because transpose the negative 12, the positive to the other side became negative 12. Then x minus 7 equals 0, so x is equal to 7. So the length now is 7, the width now is 7. 7 plus 5 is 12. So the length now is 12. So the answer is A. So there you go. So we are now done with the work of the SSS for your post-test activity for the grade 9 that we have. Hope you enjoy this one now, and then hope you understood that the given situation, the given explanation of all the items that I have shared with you here. Hope you like it, and if we are going to check everything in the answer sheet and answer key that we have in the last page of our module. Goodbye, so long for the next video.